Hi, and welcome again. This next series of videos I'm going to do on developing character in children. And I'd like to start out by telling you probably the greatest gift you can give your children is good character. I know there's a lot of other things we want to give them. We want to give them comfort and finance and security, all that kind of thing. But the greatest gift you can give them is good character. And I'm going to explain what I mean by good character, why good character is the greatest gift you can give them, and then also how to go about it. It may take a few times. So first of all, what is character? A good character. You know, everybody grows up and has some character. When you get to be 50 years old, you have formed a certain kind of character. Now, I will cover the fact that someone's character is always subject to growth and development. It's a little bit difficult the older you get, but of course, when you're young, that's what you're establishing. Good character is the assemblage or the sum total of all of the habituated virtues versus vices, all of the habituated virtues, so that the habits that have been built up on courage and self-control and compassion and the exercise of justice and gratitude, these are habits. You practice them, they become a part of who you are. And the assemblage of all these accumulated virtues become the character, the person that you are. And of course, vice versa, there can be an accumulation of vices, cowardness, taking the path of least resistance, cruelty, arrogance, ingratitude. There can be a lot of things that also become habitual. And in being habitual, they become a part of your character. I think William James may be considered the father of psychology, 20th century and 21st century psychology was considered the father of psychology. And he said, basically, we are what our habits are. And you can debate on either side of it, but fundamentally, that's what it is. Character is the accumulation of habituated practices, habituated habits, habituated virtues. And I'm going to use that word over and over again in terms of describing good behaviors. Okay, now, why is it the greatest gift that you can give your children? Okay, there's a couple of things here that you have to understand. Number one, and I'm going to borrow some pictures that Aristotle gave us. So we could probably attribute this idea of cultivating virtues as being the buildup of character in a person. And he talked about potentiality and actuality. Potentiality is there. It's innate to every kind of creature. Every living thing has a potentiality. And then given the right environment, the right situations, it can grow into actuality. So he uses these stories. I do this with my middle school students quite often. I'll tell them, imagine that you see or someone gives you an apple seed. Now, let's say you put that apple seed into the ground. Let's assume there's good fertilizer, there's adequate moisture, nothing is going to dig it up. It's just the normal pathway of its cultivation. In 20, 30 years, what will you have? Then, of course, they look at me like, come on, who are you kidding? An apple tree. I said, that's exactly right. How about then, what if we're looking at an aquarium, or maybe we're just at a pond and we see a little tadpole? Let's imagine 6 months from now, what do you think that tadpole is going to become? And again, they roll their eyes. Duh, that seems like a tough one. A frog or something on that order. And I say, good, yeah, that's exactly right. All right, now here's a little baby, 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old, kicking his or her arms and legs in a crib. In 30 years, what will that baby be? Now you see, we're getting at what the potentiality, the essentiality of what is a human being. Now you can't say he'll be an engineer, or he'll be a scientist, or he'll be a doctor, or he'll be a teacher, or he'll be a tradesman. Those are things that people do. That does not define humanity. So, but what Aristotle said is, what is it that's common among all human beings? And here he identified natural virtues. Now, there's many names for the natural virtues. I've borrowed at least 7 that he discussed and are discussed over and over again among those who have this view toward life. The potentiality of a human being is realized in the virtues that are common among human beings. They range from courage and self-control and compassion and justice and gratitude and humility and wisdom. And you can certainly add more. I usually use these 7 to kind of frame all of them. Here's what's important. Those potentials are within children. They're innate to their human character, to their human species. It is the same across time and space, whatever religion, whatever culture, whatever racial background you come from. Those are fundamentals that are natural to all human beings. And Aristotle calls them the natural virtues. And of course, part of the saying that they're natural is, I think common sense would tell people from just about every culture, yeah, we want our kids to be courageous and not to be afraid to set goals. And we want them to be self-controlled. We don't want them to be giving into every sensory whim that they might have. So you can look at them and say, you know, this is common. Then what is character development? And why you can see this is so important. Those beautiful virtues, courage, self-control, and so forth, are potentials in every child, but they need to be brought to fruition. That's actuality. And bringing them forward to actuality, there has to be some effort in shaping them and cultivating them and calling them out, in nurturing them. Now, so then why can I say character is a part of the best gift, or is the best gift you can give your children? Is because when we cultivate them to be courageous and to be self-controlled, compassionate, just, and so forth, we are helping them be who they really are. You know, the other things that we always hope for, happiness for our children, you know, we want them to be secure and have money and have a good job. Those don't necessarily end up with their happiness. And this is a word that Aristotle used quite a bit. The Greek word was Eudaimonia, and it means, we translate it into happiness. The happiness comes because there is a potential. What is that potential that's common for all human beings? It's the potential for courage and justice and compassion and gratitude and wisdom. Those are within. And if we bring them forth in children in various ways, this is not a monolithic definition. It's going to look different with every young adult, with every teenager or someone who's 30 years old. They're going to have different appearances. And this is where someone could be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or a tradesman. They can have different kinds of professions, but that virtue is there, that character is there, that is an actualizing of the normal human virtues that are embedded in every human being, which are natural to all of us. So you see, when we have cultivated character in our children, when we've helped them to develop character, what have we done? We've put them on a pathway of their own happiness. Where they find it, where they live, what level of society are, it's all beside the point. They will have cultivated those characteristics that are who they are at their core. And it will look different. It'll look different in a Christian family or a Jewish family or a Muslim family or a Hindu family. They're going to look different, but the virtues are going to be consistent all the way across. And so in cultivating good character, in cultivating these virtues, in making these virtues habits so that they're formed in children, young adults, as the character that they are, you're putting them on the pathway to happiness. Now, this kind of happiness doesn't end, you see. So let's imagine someone really aspired to be, I don't know, in the world of finance, and they're highly successful. That profession may have its lid on it, but the development of virtue is no limit. You can always continue to grow. There are new realms to conquer. There's new ways to exercise self-control. There's new realms of practicing justice, of practicing compassion toward it. There's no end. So consequently, it is a life a pathway of excellence. And that's the last point I'm going to make about why character, how, and why this is the greatest gift you can give your children. I also would call character development is the pathway of excellence. That means no matter what path, whether it's in the arts or the sciences or literature, all the different directions a human being can take, whether it's in the trades, it doesn't matter. To have good character is the pathway to making that profession, that way of life, rich and full and without end, because there's no limit to how you can continue to grow within that via the pathway of excellence. That's good character. I'm getting older. I'm a teacher. That's my field. I love it. I love exploring how people learn, how children develop. You know what? There's no end to what I can learn about how children grow and how to improve a classroom, how to give advice to families from my past experience. There's no limit when I focus on what? Courage. I have goals and self-control. I've got to limit myself so that I can reach my goal. Compassion. I've learned so much in the last few years and working in a very diverse school to open my heart and not to be maybe how I was 20, 30, 40 years ago, a little bit more narrow-minded. You discover, wow, there are so many different kinds of people. And I'm not just talking about culture or race, even within culture, within race, something to learn. There's no end. It's compassion built on empathy. Same thing with justice, humility, and all the other virtues that I've listed. You see, when we're on that pathway of excellence, that is the pathway of good character, then it's sort of like the engine, the power to bring forth whatever it is I want to do to its highest level. And not only do I get satisfied by reaching a hard level, or you getting satisfied by becoming the head of your department, or becoming a professor, or getting a PhD, or producing some artwork that's extraordinary, and you have your own gallery to celebrate it. Those are all things that top off, but it keeps opening more doors. Good character keeps opening up more doors to expand that pathway and leading to a life of success, leading to a life of gratification, satisfaction, because you're living in a way that mirrors who you are. And so this is what we're trying, when I say I want to spend time talking about character development, this is why. We'll talk about the how, but this is why, and what it is character. And so now you see where your children end up. You're not going to know whether they're bank executive or they decided they want to be a writer living in poverty somewhere. It doesn't matter. The character issue that allows them to tap into their potential and bring it forth into actuality. That is the pathway of excellence. That is the pathway of happiness. In the next few videos, and I'll talk in more detail, what are these characteristics? Actually, how do you help children cultivate them? Okay, thank you.